This looks just like that machine from the ruins beneath Wallbridge.
This device preserves visual recordings of research targets.
Lambda. Oh, hey, there's that word again.
What does it mean, anyway?
Lambda. In our world, Lambda has come to mean nightmare.
Why is that?
Lambda is a life form we discovered by accident while researching the Lustalia. When the Institute's director, Professor Cornell, began to study it, it quickly became a nightmare for us all. The worst aspect of Lambda, and there are many, is an ability to hatch monsters from its body. These monsters threw Fodra into chaos and eventually led to its destruction.
That cocoon! It looks just like the one that appeared at World's Eye.
After wreaking havoc here, Lambda fled to your world of Aphinia. We knew Lambda had to be stopped, so we created a humanoid capable of fighting it and initiated pursuit. That humanoid is Protos Hace, the one you call Sophie. Unfortunately, Protos Hace was unable to destroy Lambda. After much discussion, we surviving Fodrans chose to seal off Aphinia in the hopes of containing Lambda there. But now, after so many years, the Aphenians have come to us.
So you built Sophie and then sent her to our world so she could defeat Lambda. Does that mean Lambda is the one who created the cocoon?
But wait, that doesn't make sense. I mean, Richard made the cocoon, right? Maybe Lambda knows how to disguise itself or something. Maybe it just looks like Richard.
I refuse to believe that Richard and Lambda are the same. I know Richard. He's not a monster. He can't be.
Sophie's getting worse.
We must hurry.
I agree. Come on.
What's happening?
Protos Hace's particles are breaking down.
Excuse me?
Protos Hace is composed of individual particles that act in concert with each other. These particles, tinier than a grain of sand, come together to form a human shape. And while they act as one, the particles also possess the ability to separate from each other, which is what you see happening right now.
Asbel, Sharia, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, you guys?
It's the result of a process called distributive preservation. Your friends must be completely synchronized with Protos Hace's particles.
I don't understand.
When Protos Hace suffers heavy damage, it usually splits into individual particles, shuts down all functionality, and begins the process of reconstruction. This is known as particle preservation. Distributive preservation, on the other hand, allows Protos Hace to implant its particles into one or more separate vessels. Have you ever seen Protos Hace split into particles like this? Anyone?
That must be what happened 7 years ago.
But the unit shouldn't actually engage that procedure. The reason being, distributed preservation makes it much more difficult for the particles to reform. Failure could render reformation impossible, so why would Protos Hace have risked entering that state?
Would her particles have any kind of effect on the vessels that they went into?
Yes. In fact, while the particles prepare for reconstruction, they would repair any damaged areas of the vessel as well.
So Sophie split herself into 3 parts and then used those parts to save Asbel, Sharia, and little bro.
But then that means Sophie didn't die after all. She was just recuperating within us.
It's amazing. She's been with us this whole time.
I see. Then this would explain why we possess some of the same powers she has.
Incredible.
So, what would happen if she underwent distributive preservation again in her current condition?
Distributive preservation does not allow for reconstruction of the self. She would lose all elements of her current identity.
Sophie, you risked your life for us.
Impossible. Protos Haste was never designed for this kind of self-sacrifice. I fear further particle breakdown could be disastrous. We must hurry.